that's my calling, and I
You
reject
stand for.
anything that comes against it.
Yeah.
So this was now an attack on my marriage.
Yeah.
I was going to become a widow. I was watching myself in Bugeli movie. I was becoming a widow.
Yeah.
Watching this man. I wonder if I see you. I see the phone. I mean, I'd speak to my friend until morning. I couldn't sleep because I'm like, I'm dreading that call when they would say, he's no more.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. This is Love, Marriage and Family Podcast with myself, Mo, and Pindi.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much, guys. Once again, thank you for your likes. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your subscriptions. We are quite excited because, honestly, this platform is growing each and every week.
Yep.
And we are excited. And today, like any other week, and I think every week we're raising the bar, you know. Thank you so much. Today we're bringing you the one, the only, Umama Nomfundisi Mlombi, who are joining us today. Obviously, for us to get into their love, you know, marriage and family, and they will take us through their journey. Welcome, guys! Oh, my word. Guys, we're so excited. We've been looking forward to this sit-down. We're excited to be sitting with the both of you. And not just the one side of the Mlombi family, but we've got the pleasure of sitting with the both of you. And it is such an exciting moment for us. And yeah, man, we look forward to this time that we're going to spend together. But as we always do, let's start from the beginning. Let's start where this love journey started. When Nandi was a 20-year-old at the time, or were you younger?
19. 20.
You were 20, you know,
20.
when this love journey started many years ago, when Nandi was 20 years old. Please take us through that. We love love stories. When did it all begin for you guys?
We're here with Mama Nandi, Umamfundisi.
Yes.
It's like, how does it feel when it's not like Pagamam Kambambone, but it's more like
My husband. Yeah, thanks to you, Nandi.
I'm used to that now. Thank you guys for the invite and thank you for this time. Well, it started in PE. I was, 20-something.
He was 25, turning 26.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I was 25 and I was working as an assistant youth pastor at a Methodist church called St. John's Methodist Church at Central. And part of my job as an assistant youth pastor was making sure that I prepare for, before there were Bible studies or Sunday services, so which means I'll be working in the sanctuary, in the foyer. So that's how it happened, because she just walked in when I was doing my daily job.
When you were at the foyer.
When I was actually in the sanctuary, but the senior minister was in the foyer.
Yeah.
So a strange thing happened, and I always tell her, and this is like, oh, please. Because when I saw her, I got so nervous. I didn't even know who she was.
Yeah.
She was so beautiful. I thought, oh, wow. And then she was looking for a church, and I just said, no, go to that man over there. I didn't know what to say. I thought, let me get rid of her. Because I'm still in shock,
The nerves.
Yeah, the nerves were there. I was still in shock. And I knew the minister was going to send her back to me. So I needed to compose myself. I needed a time to compose myself and, and be able to explain what's happening. So that's how I met Nandi, and then I was able to explain, and then she became a member of the church. And then she wanted to join Confirmation, Wesley Guild, and I was teaching all of those. So that meant I will journey with her, get to know her.
Oh, wow.
So it was like God brought her to me.
Oh, wow.
Because I
That's
got to
beautiful.
know her in a spiritual way before we even dated. Because I was too nervous even to ask her out. I think it took me 2 years. I befriended her for a year. But the best thing I did was to tell all my friends she was my girlfriend. So everyone...
Before it happened.
Before it happened. You can ask all of my friends, So Dabi, but no, she's my girlfriend. But I knew I'll find courage at some point. And
After
then,
2 years,
after
I
the
guess.
second year, I got the courage to ask her out. And then, we started dating, and then rest is history. To be honest, my wife was very quiet, shy,
Really?
quiet. She hardly looked at me when we spoke. To tell you the truth.
Okay, I need to compose myself.
Nandi, yeah, let's compose ourselves for this one.
She was quiet. Which year was this?
That was 20,
No, well, it was 20. So it's 2007?
Yeah.
2006.
Yeah.
Yeah, around 2006, 7. Yeah,
2006.
2006, yes.
Oh wow.
No, she was very shy, very quiet. She would hardly look at me. And even when she
I'm sure she does now.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've become quiet.
Yeah, strange. The roles have-
Yeah. But was it like for you, Nandi, love at first sight? Was it like when you walk in, on the first day as you was talking, obviously I understand that at that time you wouldn't necessarily have romantic feelings because you're just looking for a church. You know what I mean? But at what point did you like, okay, maybe not a bad idea?
So I found him to be very annoying because as I walked in the church, so remember, the thing is, I was coming from a Catholic church. I actually had decided to be a nun. So I was looking for a Catholic church where I would actually pursue my nunship.
Yeah.
And then, so I went to this Catholic church, which is behind the Methodist church on the other street. So when that church, there was no one paying attention to me or there was no one at the gate. So I turned around to go look for an alternative entrance. And I end up entering a Methodist church, and there's a young man busy at the foyer fixing whatever. I still remember I was wearing a black pants. At that time, there was just something about black pants. I don't know. I promise you, I would have.
I think it reminded you of the nun uniform.
I don't know, but at that time, I wasn't dating, but there was something attractive about a man in a black pants, especially a clean black pants.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's a perfect gentleman in my
Yes.
head.
Yeah.
And so I get there and I'm like, looking for a church. How does one join this church? And he's like, go to that guy. And then I go to that guy. He's like, go back to him. I go to him. He says, no, go back to that guy. I was like, no, this guy's very annoying.
Oh, he was
So-
nervous.
So eventually I go, he says, okay, come through to my office, go to his office. He stands up, he doesn't offer me a seat. And I'm like, he's very rude. So the black pants and he's the way he's acting is just a contradiction. He's not a gentleman. He has me standing in his office and then he says, write your number, and then kind of chases me away, dismisses me. I was like,
No, I was
very
testing
rude.
you.
I think it was a test of sort.
What was that about?
Oh, it was more nerves than a test.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was a matter of saying, okay, I'll get the details and then she leaves. I'll find, courage and be able to talk. I know why she was there, not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I couldn't help myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it became a bit awkward for me.
Yeah.
So that's why I was I didn't know what to do, how to do it. I was just thinking, okay, if I get the number, I'll be able to forward the details and then that's it. And I'll see how we move on from there.
Maybe after a few days,
Yeah.
you'll come down a bit.
Because for me, it was like, okay, we're now in your office. Aren't you going to bring out a form or something?
Yeah.
Membership
Yeah.
form
You're
or
expecting something
I'm
to happen.
expecting something formal
Yeah.
to happen. And it's just like, shoo, go away.
And at what point, though, does the romance begin? Because obviously, after the first meeting, and then you will go through the processes, the guilt, the whole process. You said about 2 years, right?
Yes. So what happened in that year? I wanted to get to know her, and then I realized she was quite shy but independent.
Yeah.
For example, if I ask her to go, let's go for drinks.
Yeah.
She would want to pay for her own bill. She was a student. I was working, so I thought, okay, she's independent. I want to pay for this. She loved movies, and I loved movies. She would always going watch movies. So no, I would say. Even before I could say, let's go for movies, she was like, oh, by the way, I was going. Because I go almost twice or
Every
3 times.
Tuesday,
a
there
week.
there used to be a special back then. So if you there was this club membership.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
those
Remember that
days.
one?
Yeah,
On
yeah.
Tuesday, movies were like half price.
Half price, I
So
remember that.
after classes, I'm like, I'm going for a
You
movie.
found
Yeah.
your partner. So back to Mo's question, when did the romance begin? Now it's 2 years
Yes.
later. What does it say to you, and what really made you like, okay, this is the one. This is the one I'm going to go for?
So there wasn't even like a specific moment that I can say, okay, now it's official, we're dating or whatever. Because we became friends
Yeah.
from church, and then, you know, we would do movies,
Spend time together.
but there was no,
Started holding hands.
there was no, randomly, like,
Yeah.
it just,
Oh, that's cool.
So he never said he loved you or
I want you to be my
anything like
wife,
that?
or
Or I want you
I
to be
had
my
this
girlfriend.
dream.
no, there was,
What if it was all a joke? So many years later.
And I'll be like, no, I didn't say.
That's not what I said.
Well, I guess they say action speaks louder than words.
Yeah.
Because I made sure that she saw that I loved her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was difficult. I don't know why I was so nervous to tell her that, I guess. It was on me. I was so nervous to say those words to her in case she doesn't believe me. I was not that innocent those years.
Yeah.
So it was difficult to say such because she was going to be like, does he mean it or not? So I thought, that if I show her, at least she will see that I mean it.
Yeah.
And the more time I spend with her, she could see if I'm not at work or at school, I'm with her. So she'll kind of see that, okay, no, he's serious about this relationship. So in the second year, I would say that's when the romance, I could say, it started. Because I think she kind of saw that, okay, he means business, he's serious, he's not playing, and then
It all began.
it all began.
And it all
But
began.
for you, Nandi, because I know it happens now, but most girls, I mean, you don't grow up in like, hey, I want to be a pastor's wife.
No.
You know, it's never something that, I'm sorry, Rev.
No
it's true.
offense. No offense.
It's never like a girl's dream, you know. Not that there's anything wrong with it,
Yes.
but I think because we kind of, when we were growing up, you kind of felt there was a certain kind of girl that
can be
is
umamfundi.
specially designed to marry a pastor, you know. It's not everyone. So was it ever part of your dream to marry a pastor? And when it happened, take us through that journey. Was it something that, yeah, this is what I wanted, or, you know, it's something that was never planned and you ended up, you know, as a pastor's wife?
No, for me, it was never. Like I said, I felt I was called. I always knew I was called for something. I didn't know what, and that's why I thought, let me go be a nun. Maybe this is what I'm called for. One thing I knew is that I'm called to serve people somehow, in my own way. But being a pastor or a pastor's wife, no. No. Never, it never crossed my mind. It's not something I ever thought of. However, even when he was a youth pastor, you know, it was still like, didn't register that this is somewhat leadership in church. And
Yeah.
like, Brother Mlombi. That's what he was called back in. I was like, it's not that deep.
Yeah.
It's Brother Mlombi, you know. And then as time went by, I think eventually you made me a confirmation teacher as well the following year. So
Oh,
I was
wow.
confirmed that year, and then
Needed
the
that
following
close.
year.
So you're promoting.
Promoting what's this, a confirmation teacher, and I enjoyed it. I was like, oh, this is quite nice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind being involved in
Yeah,
the church,
yeah.
but nothing hectic, you know.
Yeah, beyond,
I still want to be myself. I still want to act my age. I still want to, you know, find myself. Because remember, at that time I was then 21.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the nun idea, I
nun
assume
idea,
it just
yeah.
went out the window.
No, obviously it went out the idea because now I got into shenanigans
Yeah.
that were not gonna do any good in that calling. I was like, okay, I judged myself. I was like, no,
Maybe I'm called for this.
not even. So I just felt, you know what? I'll just be useful in the church space,
Yeah.
in one way or another.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I just enjoyed being a, what do you call this, confirmation teacher. And for me, I was enjoying that. But even then, I was still shy. I used to sit at the back in church. So he's the one that made me, like he made his friends give me, you know, the collection bag.
Yeah.
No, go give that girl collection bag so she can come to the front. I used to sit at the back. I used to make sure I come early to church
Yeah.
just so I can get that spot at the back. So the Dr. Amen, I'm the first to leave. I
Yeah.
don't want to interact with anyone. Once Dr. Amen, I went to church literally for the word, and I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
That is so hard to believe.
Actually, I think the problem now that I'm like this is actually being in the front seat, because at the back you don't know anything.
Yeah.
In the back seat, it's like you listen to the word of God. You don't know who did what with who, when, how.
And you leave.
You leave, and that's all you leave with the word of God. You are fed, and you're just trying to live your best life,
Yeah.
like in Christ, and you go. And then this guy moved me to the front seat. I was like,
Yeah.
So where did you get your voice then? I mean, Rev just said you used to be this quiet girl who
Yeah.
never said a word, and now you
Fast
are
forward.
this loud, girl that says everything. So how and where did you get your voice?
I think also when let's go back a bit. And then I fell pregnant, My parents are like, "Aye,
Before getting
before
married?
marriage, yeah."
Aye, guys.
No nuns here.
So my parents are like, "Aye, you guys have made your bed, you lay in it."
Oh, wow.
And then fortunately was a responsible young man. To think that I didn't even know this guy, had he decided to run away, I'd be a single mom with a kid in a few years to come.
Oh, wow.
So Uliza could have been a tatam candidate,
Yes.
because all I knew was his name, surname, Uguti Kupeka.
Come on.
I wouldn't have known. So now, fast forward, we get married the following, I don't know. I had the baby that year, June, and then like December, Sashad. And now, guy, we move in.
No mood with someone, yeah.
Like someone womyumzi ngamazi. I was like, okay. Now you don't know someone until you live with them.
Of course.
And then,
Kuthiwane esontweni though, because I mean, surely that was taboo.
how did we handle that? What happened?
Yeah, no, it was. But for me, you went home. So for
Yes,
me,
I went home,
For me, it
yeah.
meant suspension, which it was understandable. It was no train smash.
Yeah.
And then after suspension, then I moved to East
you
London.
moved,
I applied for another youth pastor's job. So yeah.
So, 'cause I remember, yes, I stayed home. Hey, it's been a lot. Now I must remind me. I was where you have to remind each other. So, and then you move in with this person, like, it's like, do guys live like this? Like,
Yes, we do.
but when I used to visit you at your place was clean.
Yeah.
Now we have a place together. It's messy, and then that's when Amatota will make you talk. They will even make a mute talk. If someone is on mute, just bring a man.
So that's why it started for you.
That's where it started for me. It was like, my guy, your shoes. Why do you take off your shoes? And then you just leave them there. Or why do you take off your clothes? And why is your stuff on the floor? You take it out of your wardrobe and then it's on the floor. So I think, that reprimanding a grown up, it started small. And then the next thing, you go to church, eventually candidated to be umfundisi. And then now, you need to start, because he wasn't umfundisi when we married. So now it's like, no, you need to prepare yourself. Oh, mama, they all have opinions about how you try. Mamele, they've walked the journey.
Yeah.
So you listen. And then I was like, I think for me, I remember this one time we went, that's in Tanzania. And Omamfundis were wearing their Manyano uniforms. And that time, I didn't want to be part of the Manyano. I was like, I like it from a distance, but it's not for me. Because I've seen my mom and my grandmothers, what they went through with the Manyano. I was like, nah, I'm good.
It's not for me.
It's not for me. And so we go to this church service in Tanzania, and then this guy, Umfundisi, gets on the pulpit and starts bashing Amakosas Abefundisi who are not clothed, like but naked because they don't wear the uniform.
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh, okay. So he's talking about me. He's got a platform, which is a pulpit to preach the word of God. He decides he's going to dress
You.
Me. Yes, it's not saying my name, but come on. Everyone
it's
is dressing
obvious.
me. It's obvious. And I can see even from the congregants how they treat my colleagues, Omamfundisi. They will come, they'll just pass me and go greet Omamfundisi. So they don't recognize you because you're not wearing the uniform. And I was young then, so I was still in my 20s. I was like, oh, okay. So
This is the way to go.
if you don't wear the uniform, you're nobody. They don't respect you or they don't see you until be capable to say, hi,
I'm here.
I'm here.
Oh, wow.
So for me, it's those things where I thought, nah, you need to speak up about this. This is not right. You can't be treating a human being. Like I feel like in church, whether ndingosa zemfundisi or not, respect another human being.
Yeah.
If you're gonna greet everyone. You can't just walk in here, Mo and Pindi, hi guys, and like I don't know who these are.
Sure.
Ubuntu.
Yeah.
You know, that's all. Like Ubuntu to say, okay, you may be a nobody. So if you feel like I'm a nobody,
Yeah.
but I'm still human, greet. And then get to your people. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
So I think it's small things. The voice came about. It didn't just happen.
Yeah.
It's things that I saw, man, this is not on. And, even the treatment, I remember. So what happens is, so Nihleli, where the other Bomamfundisi sit.
Yeah.
But I'm wearing uniform guild, a Wesley guild. So this one lady, she comes up, and she's like, Mamela ke nontombi.
You have to move?
Ayeza amakhosazi abefundisi. And indawo is limited. You're going to have to move.
But usungosa zamfundisi by then?
Yes. Remember again, it's this thing of we don't recognize you if
You are not
wearing,
appropriately dressed.
Yes, if
Oh,
you're not
wow.
wearing.
Okay.
I said uzawusuka ke nontombi and whatnot. And I just looked at her and I smiled. I was like, okay. And then she left, And then now inkonzi yaqala, obviously, omamfundisi
coming in.
bayangena. And she comes back. Ntombazana ndini ndithe suka apha.
You?
And I was like, whew, thank Jesus we're in church, because I want to tell you where to get off right now. But we're in church for the sake. And so a Mlombi is sitting next to me, like, I'm Mlombi. Like, xolo wethu andikuboni kaloku uske. And then suddenly the tone changed, and I was like,
Yeah.
you know.
So
Yeah.
you had to be told.
You had to be.
Other than that, you would not just respect the fact that
Exactly. And
there's a human being sitting.
So for me, another thing is, if ndinxibe uniform guild, obviously I know imithetho yasewisile. I got there and ndide ndanxiba uniform guild because
Yeah.
I know imithetho yasewisile. So obviously ngeke ndizohlala namakhosazi abefundisi. Just
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
there's a place for everyone. I mean, the guilders were sitting across us, so obviously there's a reason why I'm sitting here. And so for me, it was like, yeah, some things. It's just
Yeah.
it's nesgezo phakathi.
No.
I don't think it's schizo, though. I don't think it's, silliness. Look, it's every organization has got its rules,
Absolutely.
and all of us who would be part of that organization,
Yes.
Automatically it means that would subscribe,
You're expected,
with those rules. But the issue, and I want to bring it back, you guys are married. You're married with your firstborn, right? You said 6 months later, right?
Yes.
6 months later. And then how did we get to 6? Okay, don't tell us literally how we got to 6.
I was just about like, really? Do you want the details?
How do we get to 6 children? At what point do we say, actually, I want 12, or
This one is not enough.
Yeah, at what point, do we say this one is not enough? You know what I mean?
I guess that is Mlombi's business.
Strange enough, when we dated, we sort of agreed that we're not going to have kids.
Yeah.
Of
which
course,
people
you
find strange.
were going to marry a nun.
None.
Yeah.
And also with my background, not growing up without my father, and my mom had to go to work at a young age before she was 20.
Yeah.
So I was with my grandparents. So for me, it was not. I was raised very well. I mean, I enjoyed every moment with my grandparents, but I always felt it was not the same watching other kids growing up with their parents. So I said to her, "Look, I'm not sure if I want children." And at that moment, when I said that, she was happy because she wanted to be a nun. She was like, "Okay, no problem." And because I loved what I was doing as a youth pastor, and it kept me very busy. I mean, weekends I would be away. I mean, Fridays I would be at church until like 11 at night with the young people and all of that. So we agreed on that. So when Lisa came, we didn't even speak about, is she going to be the only child? Are we going to have another child? Or
Yeah.
And then she started quoting scriptures. Come on, Nandi.
Oh,
This and
yeah. Be fruitful and multiply.
Excuse me, yes. So we sort of said, look, if it's God's plan, we have more than one, so be it. If not, so that was it, to be honest. We
Yeah.
never had a moment, and I always say that to people, never had a moment where we sat down and said, we want this number.
Yeah.
Or this is the number of kids we're going to have.
Yeah.
Yes, there were times where we fight about it, and I would say, look, it's tight. You know,
Yeah.
maybe after the twins, it's okay. We have enough after 3. And then a fourth one will come. And then I think the tough part will also be, there was pressure, you know, from church people. Like, we can't have so many. And I understand they were advising. With this economy, so many kids. So I'll stand and say, no, we had enough now. 4 or 5 is enough.
Yeah.
Don't worry about them, boom, another one.
Yeah.
So for us, to be honest, it has never been a matter of us sitting down and planning how many kids we
Yeah.
it's a matter of saying, look, if God gives us a child, we'll take it. We'll have that child, and then we'll find means, you know, to cater for our family. But yeah, it was never her decision or my decision. We just go along.
Yeah.
And God provides.
And
Of
and
course
is
it
that
does.
still the position now? Are you looking at 7, 8?
Maybe that question should go to Nandi because
Yeah. Why am I asking him?
all
Because
these years Rev didn't know.
you know what I mean. Rev was just doing his thing. You know.
All these years Rev didn't know how we got to this
No,
number.
he was just enjoying himself, and then the gates open. Hi, woman. So is there like a number, like a target, or is there like, okay, this is 6, that's good, or what?
You know, for me personally, I think after my second pregnancy, which was a set of twins, and we didn't even know it was twins until labor ward.
You're kidding.
No. And so for me, it was like, because at that time when I was pregnant, I was like, okay, at least Lisa will have a sibling. So two kids, I mean, it's the norm nowadays. Have 2 kids, that's
You're
good.
good.
And I thought, okay, 2 kids, we're good. And then when 2 came for the price of 1, I was like, clearly this whole baby making thing is not up to me. It's not about us. It's not our decision. And for some strange reason, I found a lot of women in my space at that time who were struggling to conceive. It's almost as if God was saying, none of it is up to you. So
Yeah.
stop making plans. Stop saying, I'm going to have 2, I'm going to have so many. It's not up to you. There are people who want kids, and it's not up to
can't.
them. They can't. You understand? So for me, after the twins, I was like, you know what?
Open the gates, Lord.
Exactly. Let it rain. And for me, I always say, God will, when God says it's enough, it will be enough. I will not have kids. You know? So I don't have, no, after so many kids, I'm going to stop. When I, you know, right now I always say, I will utilize my uterus until it falls off if it must fall off.
Did you get that?
So if a 7th comes, thank you, Lord,
Yeah.
we shall see. Because it's God's plans. I mean, as a mom, I always look at, I don't know where exactly the scripture is, but I know it's in Genesis. Adam no Eva would go be fruitful and multiply and subdue the earth. So how am I going to subdue the earth with 1 or 2 children? It makes no sense. It's like God has promised me as a mother that you will be fruitful, multiply, and subdue the earth. And then there's a promise that my seed will crush the enemy's seed. So my heels may be bruised right now because financially or whatever, it's hard to, But I know for a fact I'm excited for my seed to crush the serpent's head.
Oh, wow.
So for me, it's like I'm excited. Keep them coming.
Yeah.
Like my seed is gonna crush your head. I'm looking forward to this. So I usually say I don't make life-changing decisions based on feelings. So you may feel a type of way. I mean, changing situations,
'Cause they
finances can
change.
change. I mean, we can all agree. Look at COVID. There were people who thought, life, we've got this figured out.
Where are they now?
And where are they now? So imagine me making a decision, a life-changing decision, deciding I'm going to have so many kids because right now my financial status is so... It could change
Yeah.
overnight. I mean, God is a God of miracles. Kungawimana, ibe millionaire ngomso.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I had decided on having 1 or 2 kids based on a temporary situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eish.
So, yeah.
And then obviously, I mean, you guys, there's so much to get through. There's so much to get through. But some of the things that you update, especially on Facebook, does he have a say? Do you at some point say, Nandi, please, can you delete that? Or, or what? How do you guys manage that? Because obviously you see the responses
of
and all
course.
that. Yeah.
Well, I do follow her now, but I didn't follow her before.
Now, suddenly.
I followed her, unfollowed her, then now I'm following her. I don't know how long will that be before. But the truth is, yes, I had moments. I mean, at first, we used to argue about it a lot. Because when it comes to social media, we're totally different. Yeah, I hardly post. I post whenever I feel like it. She gets frustrated sometimes, like I'm not posting. So there will be things where she writes and I'm like, I don't agree with that, or I'm not in agreement with that. And then we talk about it, or we argue about it, and she's like, well, it's there. There's nothing I can do now. I'm not going to change it.
You can delete.
But
You can edit.
but she refuses to do such. But it did have a strain on our relationship. I'm not going to lie. A lot, which it was a matter of us not understanding each other, because I don't understand social media the way she does, and also being a minister, there's a noise. I mean, I lead congregants that some are conservative, some are liberal. The liberal ones will always say, come on, Bele, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
It's her opinion, which is her opinion, by the way, not my opinion
Yeah.
or church's opinion. It's her opinion. And sometimes people seem to forget that she's grown up, she's old enough to make her choices and her opinions. But we would argue about that because there will also be voices saying, but a Mamfunis should not be saying that. And I will go to and say, look, there's this feeling, or I feel this way, some people feel this way, and then she'll be like, look, this is how I feel, and this is the reason. You see, for me, this is what has changed things. She will explain why she's writing what she's writing. Why did I put that status? Why did I say what I said? Why am I saying it the way I'm saying it? And as much as I'm conflicted, I have to understand and respect where she comes from. And it's a space. And which for me sometimes makes me laugh, because people always told me that silence is golden, but now I'm always asked, why are you quiet about Nandi posting? I'm like, when did silence stop being golden? I mean, come on.
Exactly. So the contradiction.
Silence used to be golden back in the day. Not anymore.
Yeah, so
It has changed.
So being honest we do talk about them. We do argue about them. We have different opinions on them.
Yeah.
I definitely have different, not on everything that she writes, but there are things that I have a different opinion. And then, but Nandi being Nandi, once she writes it, she doesn't want to delete.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you probably got to a point where you know your wife so much. I think Nami, that's a Nandi I know. Oh my God, if this is what she wants, you'll try slowly to say, okay, Nandi, but it could be done this way. But Nandi will still say it has to be. But I mean, I can imagine, because as much as there will be those people who are conservative and those that are not, sometimes the negative ones are the ones who are the loudest.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
That's the thing.
you know what I mean?
Yes,
Or
yes.
are the ones that get more of your attention. 100 people can say good things, but the one who makes the 101, who says something bad,
Yeah.
that's the one that really you kind of feel like, ish, I don't think this is a good thing
Yeah,
because the one person. So for you, Nandi, at what point, because I mean, I can imagine for you as well, that this must have been difficult. You are married to a pastor, you write things, and then the pastor, I mean, people are going, that's not how a pastor's wife is supposed to behave.
Yeah.
How has that been for you? Because you don't just develop a thick skin overnight, you know?
You don't, like I said earlier, you don't realize how certain things change you. Like I said, I used to be quiet, and then it started with you. Why are you leaving your shoes on the floor? Suddenly, now it's like, oh, it talks. You understand? So it always it's a build up, and unfortunately, in the church space, the build up is with different people in different congregations in different contexts, and you are the constant in all of this. So you'll find that. Abantu base KZN, they know a certain Nandi or quiet, maybe a young abethi phakama mkamba kubone, and they'll be like,
Yes.
no, they know that young
That
girl.
Nandi.
And then you move to Potchefstroom, and you get there's a frustration of a language barrier and people misunderstanding you. And, you can imagine a child who's frustrated and cannot communicate. So there's friction there as well. And then
Yeah.
you move from that. So they know now they've been introduced to a certain type of person. And you move, and then there's this build up.
Yeah.
And then one day you just like, for me as an individual, I realized I can never impress all those people. You go from Zulus expect a type of mamfundisi.
Yeah.
You go to Tswana people, they don't even care about what the Zulus think is what's right.
Yeah, they have their own
They
definition.
have their own definition. There are certain things they genuinely don't care about. You understand? Like Uktwala, it may be a big issue with Amaxhosa and Amazulu in Uktwala. You get to Tswana, they're like, no, we don't do that.
Sure.
We
So
find
how
this
far would
way.
you go?
And then now, if we figure utwali clear, suddenly now we are isusa because it's like you're the odd one out. You understand?
Yeah.
Or if you carry on again, it's sort of like now you're the black sheep because utwali clear singatwalanga qha. Do you get what I mean? So and then you move, and then for me, growing up in this institution of marriage while growing in another institution called the church, so I'm realizing I can never impress everyone. And everyone has different expectations. Then you move into a congregation in Abantu Abamhlophe, white people, they don't care about any of those things any black community cared about.
Sure.
They couldn't care if I came in bum shorts as long as I came. Do you get what I mean? They couldn't care.
That's tough, eh?
They couldn't care if they genuinely don't care because it's like, that's what they do. Do you get what I mean? So now you realize, but no, zobane bipolar mosapa if you're going to be
Pleasing everybody.
be pleasing everyone. So I got to a point where I was like, the best thing I can do for myself is be myself, whatever that is. So now I'm going to be on a journey of who are you?
Yeah.
I'm now embarking on a journey like, who is Nandipa outside of uba inkosikazi
And pleasing everybody.
and being umamfundisi kazibanibani and being umama kaliza, and who am I? What do I enjoy? And for me, I then did that unapologetically. So I'm going to do me. I'm going to find me because I can never impress everyone else. Everyone has a different opinion. They want different things from umamfundisi, and I'm like, it's exhausting, fam.
And then in terms of, obviously, Bele, you are a rev amongst reverends.
Yes.
So it means there are peers, that you have. And lots of them, if not all, certainly are also married. So, is there a point where all of you as peers, you get together with wives? In other words, in your case, Nandi, do you have other women, who are also
married,
reverends' wives and so on, wherein you guys could sort of iron sharpens an iron within the context of Methodism?
Yes, there are lots of opportunities like that in our church. Like we call them retreats, sometimes it's gatherings, where I go to ministers' retreat, which would be pastors or priests' retreat. She go to ministers' wives' retreat. So we do have those platforms where we sit amongst our peers and, we talk about the expectations of the church.
Yeah.
We talk about what the church expects from us. We talk about the word of God. We help each other, because most of those guys are experienced, those men and women in my side are experienced. They've been in ministry before me, and some of them, we are the same age, some are younger than me. So we get those opportunities where you are sort of being groomed and also being helped in this journey.
Yeah.
So those opportunities do come, and I think also in her case, I don't know what they discuss, because I've never been part of.
She never tells you.
Yeah, I've never been part of their gatherings, but yeah, and then also you do get those ministers and their wives who would take an interest in you, along the way, who in your journey, who would come in and journey with you.
Yeah.
Like in my case, may his soul rest in peace. My spiritual father, Reverend Mased, passed away during COVID. He was one of those people who journeyed with me, and there are others along the way, and it's the same with her. So
Yeah.
you find those people who are very helpful. Yeah.
And then at what point, guys, because you guys are journeying together, you guys have reached this understanding, certainly around social media, which, according to a whole lot of, impressions and social media, certainly comments and so on, people will be like, okay, this is why, this relationship doesn't work or didn't work or whatever. At what point do you guys decide, you know what, I've had enough of this, and Nandi phuma ngapha, Mlombi phuma ngapha, and so bona phambili? And I want to talk later about how we got back together. But certainly, at what point do we decide that, okay, this is enough?
So back to, sorry, I'm just going to take you
Yeah.
a minute back. So with those gatherings, so again, for me, I don't know, I always say maybe I shouldn't have done psychology in varsity because it messed me up. Now I psychoanalyze things.
Everything.
Yeah, so for me, it's like the whole notion of there's them and then there's us.
Yeah.
So what I found at the retreats is Amakosa Zobefundisi is like they were crying about what their husbands were doing.
Yeah.
So kula retreat uyakhaluba, so they will generalize things. It's not going to be like, no, umamus banban, this is what happened. But in our corners later, we will know who's
that
going
relates
through
to.
what. So you have amakhosikazi akhala ngokuthi no utata umithise intombi yomanyano or umithise igilda or you know. So for me it's like, but this is not helping the marriages. You are there telling umfundisi how to be umfundisi, but is he being told how to be a husband as well? Because there's this ministry that starts at home. He needs to get his house in order before he can go and head families, because remember in church now you are dealing with families, you are leading families.
Yeah.
So how do you lead families if your house is not in order? So you have abefundisi who are being taught how to be umfundisi, how to preach and whatever, how to deal with contexts, blah blah. I don't know what happens. I've never attended one.
Yeah.
But now looking at amakhosikazi, I'm like, clearly these women are broken, and I have no desire to be mentored by any of them. No disrespect. I respect them. I take my wig off for their courage to stay in the toxicity.
Yeah.
They endure. You understand? So at these retreats, for me, it was like, I don't see anyone that I could say, no,
Mentor me.
mentor me. I feel like your house is in order. I feel like you are in a healthy marriage. There's no perfect marriage. However, we strive for healthy marriages so we can raise children in healthy homes.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So for me, I look at these older women and what they've been through. You hear the stories in the corridors or in the corners when we go to our rooms to sleep. We'll talk, umamus banbani has been through so much and whatnot. And then you will have ugogo ozophakama athi bantwana bam gcinani isidima secawe, if nizojola jolani within. And I'm like, no fam, I'm sorry, I
Jola within what? The
within
structures of the church.
isifundisi, yes, ungaphumeli ngaphandle
I think that's fair.
No.
I think that's fair.
Uma jola ngaphakathi. So jola kuphi? As wena ushade nomfundisi jola within abanye abafundisi.
Ungajoli namagosa or
Or
the
the congregation.
laity or the laity
The
and
elders
whatever.
and so on.
At least keep it within.
Members of the church?
No, keep it within his fundis.
But this is you as a single person, right?
No.
As a mamfundisi?
Yes. So
Oh no. Okay, sorry. I take it back. I take it
yes,
back.
Yes, I
take it
saw.
back.
Take
I
that
really
back.
didn't get it.
Okay.
So for me, it's like I don't agree with your principles. So how then do you mentor me?
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I look at omamfundisi abadala kunami, everything. I don't want to be raising no kids that came while ndisemtshatweni. So if bakhona, please, they must stay wherever, because I'm not about that. I am trying to build a healthy family.
Yeah.
I'm trying to raise my kids within the structure with hopes that it's something they would aspire to.
Yeah.
You understand what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So, and promoting healthy marriages.
Yeah.
One of my ministries, I feel, as a person, is families and marriage.
Sure.
So for me, anything that doesn't speak to a healthy marriage or a healthy family, I reject.
Yeah.
I reject with all of me. Whether it's an institution, if I see how they run things, this is a violation against what I'm convicted of, which is healthy marriages and raising healthy kids. And then I'm like, ndizoyilwa, because it's not godly, because even the Bible, it says we should have healthy families.
Of course.
Do you
of
understand
course.
what I'm saying?
Especially if you're a leader within a church,
Within a
you
church.
need to have a proper family.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
sort of
absolutely. Get your house in order before you go and try to lead. Remember, in church, amachamente, those are people's husbands. Those are people's wives. Those are mothers. Those are fathers. So sometimes it's not what you're going to get on the pulpit and say, but how
Yeah.
you're living your life as well. So now how do you expect me, Kengogo, to want a mentor whose husband has impregnated or has slept with half the congregation, and you want me to aspire to that? I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's
ndimo
understandable.
wrong.
I mean,
Sorry,
that's,
ndimo wrong.
that's-
If 1 + 1 is 11, go.
Yeah.
Sorry, ndimo wrong no 2, and I
Yeah.
will stay with my 2.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
look, which obviously makes sense. So, and then back to the social media.
Yeah.
You get to, obviously, where you've been vocal now about the Methodist as an institution and as a church. When do you get to that? And aren't you worried that will affect your husband? Because obviously he's called and he's still under, the leadership of the church. What was your thinking when obviously you were vocal about what is happening in the Methodist and all of that, in line of your husband's calling?
I get you. So for me, it was like when the whole. Because for me, one thing I wasn't fighting or am not fighting for special treatment or for the Methodist to change its rules and do what I want. There's nothing personal that I'm asking for, but all I'm saying is just follow the rules, because in everything they did, none of the rules were followed. None of the methods, as the Methodist Church in Nemithetho. So in everything they did, they did not respect it.
Yeah.
And in not respecting it, I said, okay, after all, it's your turf, Mchana. Oh, yabantu bako teta na bantu bako sotu.
Yeah.
I'm not getting involved. And they were ignoring him. He tried writing emails, he tried to reach out, he would make appointments, there'd be stories, no, I'm flying here and there. So he tried
To do things the right way.
to do things the right way, but he was just bumpy and mute and all of that. And so for me, the frustration came when now his life was on the line. And then that is that his life, then my daughter was in hospital.
Yeah.
And for me, that was...
So, oh man. So you are basically doing this as a way of retaliating and protecting.
it's not even retaliation.
Yeah.
It's saying,
I'm sorry, babe. Yeah.
so for me, I'm not
sorry.
retaliating but it's also realizing that when the very first post, it's getting messages from abanye befundisi who's gone through the same thing. Abantwana babefundisi who say, no, they did the same thing to my dad. He is no more. Our dad got sick and he lost his life. So, and seeing him on his way to losing his life, at some point I was like, he's not going to make 40.
Sure.
Yeah, well. For me, again, that was attacking the very same thing I say, that's my calling, and I
You
reject
stand for.
anything that comes against it.
Yeah.
So this was now an attack on my marriage.
Yeah.
I was going to become a widow. I was watching myself in Bugeli movie. I was becoming a widow,
Yeah.
watching this man. I wonder if I see the phone. I mean, I'd speak to my friend until morning. I couldn't sleep because I'm like, I'm dreading that call when they would say he's normal.
He was
He was
been
in
to ICU. And obviously, none of us are aware of
Nobody's
the
aware.
burden.
I have a newborn at that time. But when he was in ICU, Olotando was like literally a week old,
Oh, no.
7 days old.
So,
And I used to drive at night with that baby. I would put him in a baby carrier and drive because there was no one to look after. I would lock up the doors to leave the other kids at home and rush to hospital. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
so sorry, man. The Bella, at this time, obviously you being hospitalized, and it's obviously through the traumatic experience. You know, is this the time that you guys decided to separate, or how does that?
It was after that because it was a combination of many things. Because you get frustrated, you realize whatever you do is not helping.
Yeah.
And then you sort of give up. You're like, you know what? I've done everything I've been asked to do.
Yeah.
And there's nothing hurts. And people wonder, why I'm quiet. And I'm like, maybe I'm quiet because the one that I serve knows what's happening, which is God. There's nothing so defeating than, it's like in a workplace, you are told, let's say you work in a company and then your company says to you, we no longer have a space for you in our company. But guess what? You're such a brilliant worker. You're such a good worker. Your work speaks for itself. You've done everything we've asked you to do to the core. But we don't have a place for you. And you're like, okay, what do I do then? It's different if someone says, you know what, you're such a useless worker. You don't do your job. You're useless. You don't do your job. You know what? We can't keep you. And so you try your way, but like you said, these processes of the church, it's processes of any work, and then you are given the reasons. You accept them or not accept them, so be it. So I got defeated there in terms of trying to reason. And then my wife and I had our own fights and own arguments, our own disagreements. And then you're like, okay, I'm defeated because we arguing a lot, we're fighting a lot. And then you can't provide for your own children. You're like, I'm a failure as a husband, I'm a failure as a father, I'm a failure as a man. And your masculinity is just ripped off like that. And I think also the burglary at our house just took it off. I mean, imagine in your 40s as a man, you are tied naked and your kids could see you helpless, sitting there, lying there, doing nothing. And you're like, I can't take this anymore.
Yeah.
And I think I reached that point where I can't take this. My marriage is not working. I am not working as a minister. I don't have a church. I don't have money, I don't have a medical aid, I can't provide for my children. And no one said that to me, but I personally felt, you know what, I'm a failure.
Yeah.
I've done this since I left high school. I was 18, theology is all I know. And I was like, God, okay, I'm a coward to take my own life. I'd rather just go away and go home, you know,
Yeah.
and just go home. And it's fortunate and unfortunate with family because fortunately my family welcomed me because I hardly went home, and I must be honest. So I was sort of a stranger to them, but they welcomed me. It was unfortunate that not my whole family could welcome.
Could join you.
So for me, that was the tough part of going home, but that's when we separated for a couple of months. And it was strenuous. And then from separation, then it meant we're not talking to one another.
Yeah.
And I think that for me was the lowest of it all in my life.
Yeah.
And I would be lying, as quiet as I was, but I'd be lying if I said I was strong. I mean, there were times where I was like, you know what? At least if I die, my wife and the kids will have the luxury of having, you know, from my pension, something for them to carry on. And I thought to myself, if I'm no longer here, at least I'm not a burden to anyone, family or anyone. So it got to that point where I was like, you know what? I think it's best not to be on this earth anymore.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this not because I'm not blaming anyone. It got to that point with all these things I've mentioned. I was like, that's it, you know. And that's when our marriage got to a point where we were really in a difficult time. And
We were just toxic.
we couldn't talk to each other. We couldn't sit like this, which it was strange for both of us because it's something we're not used to.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Because we always talk, we always hold hands, we always laugh, always make fun of each other.
Always been in each other's face.
Yeah.
Like, since we were in our 20s.
So I guess that's why for me it only made sense to go away or run away from my responsibilities. And the marriage suffered. And we were talking divorce. We are not gonna act like we didn't. We were talking divorce, saying, look, maybe it's best. Maybe it's best if we do this, you know. It will bring
And I was
peace.
like, I wouldn't mind half of his pension.
Yeah. You know what, Rev, I think for me, there's nothing that hurt me the most. I think, and I also now am understanding where Nandi was coming from, because I think some of her maybe posts was also a way for you to get some of the things off your system.
Frustration.
Get your frustration out. I think there was a time where you posted that it's over or it has ended or whatever. Literally, I had shivers down my spine. I've never felt, you know, when you feel like a pain for somebody, but at the same time you're kind of asking yourself, oh no, like this cannot happen. Literally, the devil cannot be allowed to do this. I think it was one of the most painful things for me, just watching you write that. And I'm learning now that obviously at that point, you are even maybe by yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a point where Rev has gone home at that moment, you know. So when that happened, Nandi, I can also imagine, because one thing about you, you love family. When that happened, when you realized that actually this could be the end, what was going through your mind at that point?
I think for me, I had reached a point where I felt I've done everything. You know, I believe in marriage, we have roles to play. My role is to be his wife, whatever that means in that marriage, and his role is to be a husband. And I felt I've done everything I could have done as a wife. I've done it all. Like, we've fought, like when I believe in something, I will fight for it. I fought for our marriage. It's pity time is not on our side, but yeah, if he could open up and be honest, he would know I gave it my all.
Yeah.
So I reached a point where I was like, I've done it all. I've got nothing to give.
Yeah.
I've done it all, and I think I was at a place where I was at peace. I'm like, at least I'm not going to say, "Ish, if only I
You were
had
not a
done this.
coward.
If only. I knew I had given it all.
Yeah.
Now it was a matter of, I've got nothing to give. I've done it all. I've given it all. I've cried about it. I've mourned the marriage while I was in it. It is well.
It is well.
That is Love, Marriage, and Podcast. And thank you so much for joining us. And we'll be back with the part 2.